Welcome to Around the Horn. I'm your host, Big Rob, joined today by three very special guests. On our left, we have Tim, the Mad Dog Blair. And to our right, we have Charles Timothy Hamilton. And filling in for the always absent and never present Michael Wilbon, we have our junior analyst today, James Torrescano. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Good.
Yeah, James, you want to say hi to your mom while you're...
Hi, Mom.
Yeah?
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get things started right off the bat with a little football. The Raiders get their first win of the season. It's also the first win for Derek Carr. What are your guys' thoughts on the game and the Raiders moving forward?
Well, for me, it's a big win. I mean, the bottom line, I don't care how long it took. These guys have pride. When you work as hard as you do every single week, you want to get the win. They're obviously not going anywhere this year. They showed some good things, and they'll take it, but it's nothing special. Nice to do it on national TV, and good for them.
All right, Charles. I agree with you. 3 points. Tim, what do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, Rob, I think the Raiders are doing well. They've come really close in a lot of games. However, this being their first win, it shows how lackluster of a team they really are. And I think their best bet is just to go for the number one pick in the draft. They might be able to go get that, but not much else this season, unfortunately.
I do hope they get that number one overall pick, but hearing you say the Raiders should lose out loud kind of hurts me. Tim, that's minus 3 points. What about you, James?
I think it was a great win for them. It really shows that Carr, can get it done. He needs help around him, and Latavius Murray had a big game. Unfortunately, got out with the concussion, but he'll be back, and I think the Raiders can really pick up their season. Obviously, they're not going to win the division or anything, but they're building for the future, and they look good. They looked good last night.
Oh, I like it, James. Doing well on your first day. 5 points. All right, let's go to the other side of the bay where we got the Niners. They're 6-4 right now. They're going to be hosting the Washington Redskins, who haven't looked very good. Do you see the Niners making the playoffs this year? Charles, let's start with you.
I do not, Rob, and there's a lot of reasons why. I believe they do have the talent, but the bottom line is they refuse to run the ball. They're trying to make Colin Kaepernick into something that he isn't, like a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. They need to give Frank Gore the ball at least 25 times a game. Hyde needs 15, and then run Kaepernick as much as they do. I just don't see it. Defense is playing well, but with Willis out for the year, Bowman possibly out for the year, Alden Smith just came back. He played all right, but I just don't see anything special, and they're a little lackluster, and there's some drama in that locker room too that I don't think is conducive to winning personally.
I agree with you. They got to run the ball with Gore and Hyde more, but the way Chris Borland's playing, I think their defense is looking pretty stout. I'll give you a point, though, Charles. Tim, what do you think?
Rob, I absolutely think the Niners are going to playoffs. They deserve to go to playoffs. They are talented enough to go to playoffs, and the audacity of anyone to think that they're going anywhere other than the playoffs is ridiculous. Their talent is through the roof. They're going to bounce back from this little hiccup that they have this season and just go all the way. I think they're going all the way this year. I think this is the year they actually finish the job. And I can't believe you, Charles. Like, honestly, you've watched the Niners, right? You
Rob,
see how talented they are.
Rob, let me tell you something. Mad Dog, that is a straight-up homer pick. You haven't been watching. This O-line has not played as well as they should. Colin Kaepernick is not what they think he is. They refuse to give their Hall of Fame running back the ball. They refuse to give their first-round talent running back the ball. Aaron Lynch is a fifth-rounder who's played all right. Chris Borland, Rob, you can talk about Chris Borland all you want. He's a third-rounder, and he's no P. Will. He's no Bowman. They're not going to make the playoffs. They have to get in front of Seattle. They're barely in front of Seattle by percentage points. They have to get in front of Green Bay. They're out of the playoffs right now. I don't see how they're going to stop a red-hot Green Bay team. Arizona's already got the division wrapped up. Wild card's the only way they're getting in. It's just not happening.
All right. Let's get back. Let's get back.
I don't know what you're talking about. Chris
My goodness.
Borland is a prodigy.
Hey, this is my show, guys. Let's get back to the point at hand, and let's give James a chance to speak his mind. James, what do you think?
I don't know, man. I liked where they were going. I felt the heat. I felt the passion.
I'll take this one for you, James.
Okay,
they have
all
5
right.
possession receivers and a tight end who hasn't showed up all year. They have a second-round tight end they took 2 years ago, Vance McDonald, who they reached for in classic Trent Baalke fashion, who hasn't showed up either.
Any one
they're
of
not
their
going
receivers
anywhere.
could be a number one receiver on any other team in the NFL.
Oh my goodness, that is a delusional homer statement right there. I'm
Michael
not
Crabtree-
even going to address
Michael
that.
Crabtree.
I'm not
Okay,
even going to address
Vernon
that.
Davis
All
is the
right,
best tight
guys,
end
take
in
it
the
easy.
league.
Take it easy. Let's send this one down to Chuck and the boys, where they're going to break this and many other things NFL down to the tiniest bits. We're going to see their great analysis.
Thank you, Rob, and welcome into Chuck and the boys. I am Chuck. These are my boys, Nick Gonzalez.
How's it going, Chuck? Took time away from the orphanage to be here tonight. Really appreciate it.
Nick, we appreciate you, my man.
Man of
We
the
got
people.
Tim Blair in the middle there.
Thanks for having me on, Chuck. Anything for you, and I
Oh,
mean
man.
anything.
I think I appreciate that. And then we got Yama Hazir down at the end. How you doing, Yama?
Good, doing a lot better now that we have a win for Raider Nation.
Sir, you said it. So Yama just kicked it off. That's where we're going to start. Oakland Raiders get their first win last night. They were 0-10 going into this game. Hadn't won a game in a calendar year, 368 days to be exact. They get the win against division rival Kansas City Chiefs last night on national television. Is this anything more than just one win on a bad team, or does this team have some pieces to build around? Is there a future for some of these guys, or is this just, hey, one good night in a football season? Nick, what do you think?
I definitely think they have a few pieces to build on. Specifically, Derek Carr. He did great last night. So, not too sexy of numbers, but his pocket presence is amazing. Latavius Murray, another guy. Raiders fans have been waiting for this guy to get his opportunity since we drafted him last year. Guy's huge, 6'3", 230, runs a 4.38. It's incredible. He's got tons of explosive speed, and he gave us exactly what we needed, a step up in the running game. Another person, Charles Woodson. That guy is incredible. Future Hall of Famer for sure. First player in NFL history, 50 interceptions, 20 sacks. Got to give it to the guy. He's incredible.
No doubt. And I agree. I don't know why it took 10 weeks for Latavius Murray to start getting carries. Not that I thought he'd be this good, but when you have a historically terrible running game, why not try and change it up? What do you think, Tim? What do you got for me?
Well, I think the Raiders, if they were going to win against anyone, it would be someone in their own division who they're very familiar with, who they play all the time. So it's very fitting that it would be the Kansas City Chiefs so that they take the win against. They know them like the back of their hand at this point. The Chiefs haven't changed, made a lot of different changes against the Raiders, especially this season as opposed to last season. And also, just knowing the Raiders, they could win any of these games. All these games have been close. It hasn't been a blowout every week like we've seen at some other poor teams with their record in past years. Honestly, I think the Raiders are a better team than the record reflects, and I don't think this will be the last game that they win.
Definitely. I can't say I disagree, Tim. Thank you. Yama, what do you got for me? I know you're a Raiders fan just like me. Try and temper the excitement a little bit, but I'm with you. I'm excited.
I'm going to keep it cool, but I think you guys hit on some great points. I think the Raiders, it was more than just one win to them. We're talking about a team that's been playing hard all season. They've been practicing hard. They went through a coaching change. A rookie quarterback came in and took a veteran's job. They signed a lot of free agents that look washed up. And now the Raiders, they're looking like a team that could make a little bit of noise later in the season. I have to disagree with Nick to some point. I think Kansas City was an incredible opponent they were going up against. Kansas City last week beat the Seattle Seahawks. So that's one building point that the Raiders can focus on, that they beat a team that just beat the defending champions. Definitely.
They're clearly out of the playoffs, but they can play spoiler for the rest of the year because they've got teams like Denver, San Francisco coming up who are in that playoff hunt. Speaking of San Francisco, 6-4 right now. On the outside looking in as far as the playoff picture goes, what do you guys think? Are they going to make it? Are they going to make the final push, or is this
Nope, it's not happening.
Nope.
It is definitely not happening. Their division is too crazy right now. They have to get ahead of the Seahawks, who you cannot sleep on. These guys, they have twice against the Seahawks in these next 4 weeks do they have to play. One at home, one at Levi Stadium.
There it is.
It's not happening. It is not going to happen. The only way that they get in is the wild card. The only way to get into a wild card is Green Bay. They are not going to beat a Green Bay team. It's just not going to happen.
Green Bay's a juggernaut right now. I don't disagree with you. What about you, Tim? What do you got?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. With the problems that the Niners have been having, especially chemistry-wise, with the people being out with injury, Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis, people being out with suspensions, Aldon Smith, even though he's back, I still don't think this team is the playoff running team that they were last year or the year before. And with Seattle, who is always going to be a contender in that division, and Arizona, who is absolutely running away with the division, and of course Green Bay, that we said is scoring over 40 points a game consistently. I don't think the Niners have a good shot. I think they have a shot, but unless they make some serious changes, especially to the offense, I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, you said it's not over till it's over. Yama, what do you think?
I feel like they're too talented of a team to miss the playoffs, but my gut feeling says that they get in somehow anyway. They've had their number against Green Bay within the past few seasons. I think that they win that game. Seattle doesn't have a true number one wide receiver. Marshawn Lynch, beast mode is good, but can Russell Wilson with his arm lead that team into the playoffs? I don't see it happening for Seattle. The Niners, on the other hand, their defense is incredible. Their offense just needs to get on page. Vernon Davis last season had 8 touchdowns in the red zone. This year he only has 1 target. Once Greg Roman figures it out and gets some more targets for his big receiver in the end zone, I think the Niners will be fine and they'll be able to sneak into the playoffs.
That's a good point. Vernon's been the missing man. I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Early December, Niners, Raiders. Let's make some picks. Who you got, Nick?
I don't know. I think that the Raiders can win out maybe their next 3 games. They got a chance. They've got the Rams coming up, who have been on and off. It's a possibility that they could get at least 2 more wins. The Niners, I don't see it happening. They've got the Raiders coming up, which I do believe might be a gimme for them. But the Seahawks at home, then at Levi. Then they finish their season against the Cardinals. I don't see it going too well for the Niners or the Raiders.
Tim, what about you? Early December, Raiders, Niners playing each other. Who's your pick?
My pick is 49ers. Even though I believe Oakland's going to give them a run for their money, I do think that the Niners are going to take the game on, what was it, December, the first week of December?
Early December.
Early December?
6th.
Yeah, I think the Niners take that one, even though I think Oakland's going to give them a hard time. I love the Carr-Kaepernick matchup. I think that's going to be a fantastic game to watch.
It'll be entertaining, no doubt. Yama, what about you?
I think it's going to be time for Derek Carr to show that he could be the best quarterback in the Bay Area. This could be a trap game for the 49ers. They play Seattle, Oakland, then Seattle again. So they're going to be beaten up, going up against the Seattle defense. And then when you look at the Raiders, they don't have anything to play for. They have nothing to lose. The 49ers, on the other hand, have all the pressure on them. The game is in Oakland, so you know the fans are going to be fired up. And the Raiders, they're playing against their Bay Bridge rivals. You know they have a lot to play for in terms of pride. So I see the Raiders' defense outplaying the Niners' offense and ultimately coming up with a short victory.
Yama, I love it. All right, last one here. We've been talking a lot about the NFC West. Cardinals are 9-1, still playing great, even with their starting quarterback, who they just signed to a big deal. Carson Palmer out for the rest of the year. Do you see them taking the NFC West title, or are Seattle or San Francisco going to catch up and take it from under them?
I think the Cardinals got it. Drew Stanton has stepped up and proved that he is a starting quarterback and the future, potentially, of the Cardinals. With the surrounding cast of Josh Brown, Malcolm Floyd, Larry Fitzgerald, if he's healthy, I think they've got it. They have looked stellar. Their defense has been amazing. If Drew Stanton continues to play that he has in the past, then he's going to take this team into the playoffs and potentially to the Super Bowl.
Potential Super Bowl, all right. Getting a little bold. Tim, what do you got for me?
He dropped the S word, Charles. He said Super Bowl contender. Honestly, I think even though I believe that Arizona does have the division, I don't think they're going to run away with it. As dramatic of a difference as we have right now, the differential is 9-1 versus 6-4 Niners and 6-4 Seahawks, and I don't think it's going to end up at that large of a win differential. I think it's going to be a nice division race when it comes down to Week 16. I know we only have a few weeks to go, but I think the Niners are going to take a close second place, if not the division.
6 games left, including this weekend. Still plenty of time. Yama, what do you got for me?
49ers started 6-4 last season. They could make a little run in the end to potentially win the NFC West, but I still think it's going to go to the Arizona Cardinals. Their defense has been incredible. They have a nice home field advantage. They have solid coaching, and Drew Stanton might not be the quarterback that's going to take them to the Super Bowl, but he's going to play good enough to win them that division. They're 9-1. Their only loss has come against another team that was in the Super Bowl, the Denver Broncos. So I think they're looking good right now.
No doubt. So there you have it. I think we all agree Arizona Cardinals will be taking this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back with you every Thursday, bringing you the hot takes in Bay Area NFL. Thank you for joining Chuck and the boys. Back to you, Big Rob.
All right, thanks, Chuck, and the boys, of course. Excellent job, as always, breaking down the NFL. Now let's talk a little bit of baseball. The A's made a splash in the offseason, signing Billy Butler to a 3-year, $30 million contract. What do you guys think of not only this trade, but what do you think the A's need to do moving forward this offseason in terms of other acquisitions? Charles, let's start with you.
Well, Rob, I hate to correct our host here. It wasn't a trade; it was a free agent signing.
Oh.
And for the A's, it's all right. They're not going to spend. This is pretty much the cap. They're going to give someone $10 million a year for about 3 years. Billy Butler, he's not bad. He's got a .295 career average. Only hit .271 last year. .333 in the playoffs. So he can do something for him. They've been looking for a right-handed bat ever since they got rid of Cespedes. Butler obviously doesn't have the power of Cespedes, but he still can get things done for him. When you have just under a .300 career batting average, he'll be able to help, and I think it's a pretty good signing.
All right, and what do you think they need to look forward to for the rest of this offseason? What do they need to pursue?
I'd like to see him get some middle infield defense because Jed Lowry is a second baseman at best. Eric Sogard has a minor league bat at best. I don't think the free agent market is filled with good middle infielders. So they'll probably have to trade. Look for D.V. Gregorio from Arizona possibly. But, yeah, I think they'll have to make a move trading someone and look for Samardzija to be on the block, sadly.
Yeah, I'd hate to see Samardzija go, but the A's do need some help up the middle, especially defensively. 4 points for you, Charles. Tim, what do you think about this?
Well, the A's definitely need help. It's obvious from this last playoff run that they did not go far enough to be a real contender. Although the regular season record was absolutely stellar, I don't believe that they are more than a first-round wildcard team right now. They need something big. They need a big splash player. They need to go in all the way on somebody who is either young and up and coming or somebody who's really established and they know they can depend on. Billy Butler's not going to fill all the holes for them by far. I would love it if it was possible to get a Jose Altuve type in there, maybe somebody with a big bat but that can also run the bases really well. That's the kind of ball that the A's play, and that's the kind of player that they need.
I mean, players like Jose Altuve don't just grow on trees, though.
They don't. And I think any team would be happy to have Jose Altuve, who led the American League in average, stolen bases, doubles, singles, you name it. He had a fantastic season. Tim, I'll give you 3 points for that. And James, what do you think? How are you doing on your first day? Got those pregame jitters out of the way?
I still got a little, some butterflies in the stomach, but I think Billy Butler was a great signing because he adds depth to the team. And obviously he's not the player who's going to get it done for them. They need to get more. And I think they can get a couple other veteran guys in the free agent market. They need a pitcher because Lester's gone. And who knows if Samardzija is going to be there after the next year. So just hopefully they add some depth with some veterans. And I think they're a team that can really make it if they do.
And James, what do you think the first base situation is going to look like? You think they're going to go Butler against lefties and Moss against righties playing first? Or is Butler strictly the DH for this team?
I really think Butler's going to be the DH because Moss is the guy. He's the first baseman. He's their home run hitter. He's their guy that they go to for those big hits. So I think Butler is just going to be a DH guy.
Yeah, and we saw in that wild card game against the Royals, Brandon Moss with 2 big home runs. I think that hip injury really did set him back for that cold spell. He had about 2 months without a home run. So I like what you're doing there, James. 6 points. For more baseball insight, let's send it down to the heater with Shelby, Jacob, and Rocky. Rocky, what do you have for us?
Good evening and welcome to Gator Sports Network's The Heater, where we'll bring you all the latest news on America's most favorite pastime, baseball. As we all know, the A's lost their 7th elimination game since 2000. But on the other side of the Bay Area, the San Francisco Giants took their 3rd World Series title in 3 years.
Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, Rocky, because the Giants went through a gauntlet to get through the World Series to the title. They first defeated the Washington Nationals, which had the best record in baseball. Went right through them. Then, up next, the St. Louis Cardinals, a team that went to the NLCS 4 years in a row. Done. On to the next round, where they had to get through the Cinderella destiny Jesus was on their side, the Royals. Toast. Giants all the way to the championship, doing it like they usually do, playing small ball, playing tough, and torture-ridden. That's how it's done. Giants, baby.
You know what, but despite that, the fact that they were able to make it to the championship was, it was awesome for them, but they did face a lot of adversity going on throughout this season. They had so many injuries, including Matt Cain, which is one of their best pitchers. They also had Marco Scutaro, who is their second baseman. Then they had that issue with the second baseman, which we will speak about or talk about. Then their power hitters. We had Morse and Pagan, which were injured, both of them throughout the end of the season. Morse was able to come back within the last end of the season, but unfortunately Pagan didn't make it into the postseason.
Yeah, they did overcome a lot of adversity, mainly as a second base. They had nobody playing second base the whole year. We had guys, pretty much minor leaguers, like Brandon Hicks, striking out all the time. Joaquin Arias filled in admirably. But they had other guys like Tony Abreu. Who is Tony Abreu? We don't know. But the Giants stuck through it, and they found their man in Joe Panik. He displayed the cool, calm, collective thought process that you need as a second baseman. He really took charge of the infield, and he looks like a promising rookie that could do a lot of things in the future.
And speaking of rookies, besides Joe Panik, we also saw Andrew Susac, Adam Duvall, Hunter Strickland, Matt Duffy, and all of them really did play a part in this 2014 season. But besides that, we've seen a lot of adversity. They were able to get the 2014 championship. But what can we see from the Giants here on out? What's going on with them? What's going on with Pablo Sandoval?
You know, you talked about our homegrown players, and Pablo's one of them. And he is a free agent as we speak, courted by the Red Sox. And it's a coin toss. Nobody knows what Pablo's going to do. His people don't know. The Giants fans don't know. We don't know. But all we hope is that the Giants general managers and decision makers could really open up their pockets and keep the Panda in town. Because as you can see in the World Series, he did very well. He was historic, with the most hits ever in a postseason. And the Giants are going to need his bat in the lineup, and his Gold Glove caliber third base as well.
Well, I know that Canada is looking to hire him, right? And also the Padres, and he seems to be leaning more towards that team.
Let me tell you right now, Pablo is not leaving the country, okay? He is going to stay in the United States. He loves America. He's an American citizen. And, he's never been to Toronto. He's never even played there. The Giants, as it has happened, he has never had a series in Toronto. And that is a dark horse team, but it's really going to come down to Boston or the Giants. And it says that he said that he wants a bigger contract than Hunter Pence, which is going to be pretty tough to do, but we'll see if the Giants are willing to listen. And Toronto and Boston do have the dollars, but I think his heart's still in San Francisco.
And besides that, Giants are still in a pretty good position. They're going to have Bruce Bochy, who decided to stay on for a couple more years. And then they also have their core pieces who are present, besides Pablo, who is, of course, one of the staple pieces of their team for third base. But besides that, remember, you have Hunter Pence, Buster Posey, so many other players, strong players that the Giants rely on. So it won't be too hard, I think, to replace Pablo Sandoval for a third baseman. But you just have to remember who else they have in their roster.
Definitely. They signed Madison Bumgarner long-term, so they have him on the team-friendly deal. They also have, like you said, Hunter Pence on a pretty good contract as well. Buster signed long-term, MVP of our team, so he's going to be the real glue to the puzzle. And they don't really have very many in-house prospects besides Pablo at third, but that's what the Giants have done. They've plugged in somebody and they found a way. As you can see, with 3 titles in 5 years, they do what they do. They get it done.
To catch more the Heater shows, log on to ksfsmedia.net. That is all for this week, and we'll see you next Thursday.
All right, guys. Other big news in the Bay Area. Pablo Sandoval, where do you think he's going to land? Is he going to stay in San Francisco? You think he's going to Boston, or is there a surprise team out there in the waiting? Chuck, let's start with you.
Me personally, I think he's going to Boston. They can overpay for a guy like that. Yeah, his regular season numbers aren't anything special. 279, 16 home runs, 73 RBIs. It's not bad, but a team like Boston has the money to overpay for someone like Pablo Sandoval for that playoff production that he gives them. And Boston is a team that looks to be in the playoffs every single year. Whether they make it or not, who knows? But they're a team that will overpay, where I think the Giants are hitting their cap at about 5 years, 90 mil, just like they gave Hunter Pence. So anything above that, I think Pablo will take the money and run, and I can't blame him.
Yeah, this is a world that goes around because of money, so got to agree with you there. He's probably going to take that money in Boston. 3 points for you, Charles. Tim, I know you're a big Giants fan. What are you thinking right now?
To be honest with you, Rob, I unfortunately agree with Charles. I think the Pablo Sandoval signing for the Giants is lost cause at this point. They don't have the money to re-sign him. They already have a bunch of stuff coming up on this next year, a bunch of contracts ending that they need to take care of. I know Matt Cain is one of them. I know Tim Lincecum is one of them. Basically, the Giants want to try their best, do their best that they can, but they don't want to overpay for somebody whose regular season batting average is nothing to write home about. I think, honestly, it might be Boston taking him home, but don't be surprised if we see Pablo in a red, white, and Blue Jays uniform. They're coming in. They're the dark horse of the trade or the signing of Pablo Sandoval, and the Canadian dollar is going to make the contract a little more interesting with the lack of taxes and all.
Interesting, Tim. I wasn't really thinking about the Blue Jays. James, what do you think? And if he does end up leaving the Giants, who do you think will take over at third base?
Well, I think at this point, unanimous decision, he's gone. It's too late for him. I think he's going to go get the money. He's got the rings, now go get the money, right? I mean, he can go to the Blue Jays and go to the Red Sox, and let's not forget about the Padres. They might be emptying their wallets for him, so we'll see where he goes. And as a matter of third base for the Giants, I don't know who's going to replace him, because to be honest, I don't know the backup.
That's all right, James. That's why you're our junior analyst and not one of the big shots. Interesting talking about San Diego. I kind of have to dock you a point or two there, but overall, I'll give you 2 points.
I'll take
All
it.
right. Let's talk a little basketball, guys. We got the Golden State Warriors off to an 8-2 start. Is Steve Kerr the genius behind this, or is this just a team that's off to a hot start like last year when they were under Mark Jackson? What do you think, Charles?
I mean, Steve Kerr obviously deserves a lot of credit. Yeah, they were able to have a good record. I think they were 8-3 at the beginning under Mark Jackson. But the bottom line is Steve Kerr came in with all this talent and is getting the most out of it right now. And this is a team with real championship aspirations. Obviously, health is a big deal for any team in any professional sport. So, we can kind of just leave that off to the side. As long as they stay healthy, they will be a finals contender. No question about it.
All right, Chuck, I agree. He's getting the most out of most of his players, but we have been seeing a decreased role from Andre Iguodala. But I like what you had to say. 4 points for you, Chuck. Tim, what do you think is the biggest reason the Warriors are off to such a great start?
I think it's chemistry. Honestly, with their big two being Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry, I honestly think that the two of them working tandem, they're averaging, I want to see Stephen Curry is going to average probably 30 points a game for the entire season. They're doing an amazing job. Their bench depth is amazing. And also when it comes to, if you're looking, I know it's early, but looking at playoff picture, they don't have a lot of competition when it comes to the Western Conference, and that's a good thing to look at. I know the Clippers are struggling, and so are the Lakers, but we're gonna see a lot of good games coming up in the near future. I expect the Warriors are gonna do good against a lot of teams this year, and the biggest struggle they're gonna have probably are gonna be Houston and San Antonio. Those are gonna be the biggest.
Tim, I'd have to agree that the Splash Brothers are really stepping it up. Probably the best backcourt in all of basketball, but saying the Western Conference is weak, I don't know if you know this right now, but the 9 and 10 seeds, which aren't even playoff eligible, have records of 500 or above. So kind of mixed decisions. So I'll give you 2 points for that, Tim. And James, what do you think? Who do you think is the biggest key moving forward that has to stay healthy?
I think the biggest key for the Warriors this season is the Splash Brothers. I mean, they're the guys who score. But I think the reason they've been doing so well is because they've been crashing the boards off the three-pointer. And I mean, if you're a team that lives by the three and dies by the three, you got to get the O boards. And then they've been playing great D. I mean, they're what, a top 5 team in D? But I don't really know.
Well, that's all right there, James. I think another key player that has to stay healthy is Andrew Bogut. We've seen him really get into the passing game this year, something that offensively he hasn't really been there with the Warriors, but it looks like he's back to his old days with the Bucks. But let's send things over to Jenna with 4 quarters for more basketball news.
Thanks, Robert. Hello, and welcome to 4 Quarters, where we ask 4 questions to 4 NBA analysts. I'm your host, Jenna Berkman, and I'm here with a lovely panel featuring halftime host Yama Hazir.
Thank you for having me, Jenna. I'm happy to be on the NBA show today and talk about some dubs.
Hidden Gems host Angelo Gapiga.
All right, good evening. I'm ready for this. Let's talk basketball.
All Balls radio host Jacob Violante.
Basketball includes all balls, so I'm here.
And our expert statistician Rachel Senegal.
Let's get started.
Let's get started.
We're focusing on the Golden State Warriors today, so let's get started with our first question. How do you think Steve Kerr is doing so far this season?
Well, let's let the numbers speak for themselves. The Warriors were 12th in the league in offensive ratings last season and have improved to 7th this season. The true shooting percentage is up their first, where they were 10th last season. And just look at their overall record. They're 8-2, and that's the best start they've had since the 90s. They've improved dramatically when it's come to in their defense, with their opponent turnover ratio 10th best in the league. But on the opposite end of things, their offensive turnovers have been the Achilles heels for the Warriors this year.
Well, with Steve Kerr under this new offense, it's more of a triangle hybrid offense. You see an extra pass before a shot or even a pass down the paint. So, of course, turnovers are still going to be an Achilles heel. I mean, you have someone who's so sporadic like Stephen Curry, and you've got a madman shooting with Klay Thompson. That guy can shoot, and I think he's a man.
I also think that Steve Kerr is doing a great job on the offensive side of the ball. I know that Mark Jackson praised them a lot for their defensive efforts, but Steve Kerr is getting them to actually pass the ball a lot more. I know Mark Jackson had them running a lot of isolation-type basketball plays, a lot of one-on-ones, but Steve Kerr is really pushing the ball all around, sort of like what Greg Popovich does with the San Antonio Spurs.
They're actually playing defense. That's the key. They're playing defense, and defense wins championships. This year, we'll see if that can translate into winning basketball. But so far, so good. I like what I'm seeing, and Steve Kerr has been surprisingly a good fit.
All right, we're going to move on to our next topic, Klay Thompson. You guys, is he worth that max deal or not? Yama, what do you think?
I think he's definitely worth that max deal. I think it's going to go down when the new TV contract goes down anyway. So I think he is the 3rd most highest paid Warrior right now. But I also believe that he's worth all that money. He's the best two-way player in the guard position in the NBA. He knows how to make three-pointers better than any other two-guard in the NBA. And he's becoming more of a vocal leader as well. And he drives the ball a lot more. I think the FIBA experience really helped him out a lot. So I believe he is worth that max contract as of now.
What do the stats say, Rachel?
Well, according to ESPN stats information, he had a record high of 545 three-pointers in his first 3 seasons. But then this season, he has a career high of 33% of his shots are in the paint. So it shows he has a lot more versatility this season than in previous.
I think with any shot that Klay Thompson makes, it's definitely a high percentage shot. You know, from downtown, he's great. When he drives the ball, it even adds to his effective levels. And it shows that he's really growing into his own, becoming an all-around great player. And is he worth the max deal? I don't think anybody's worth the max deal, but he got it, and he's showing that, you know, it's not looking too bad so far.
If the Warriors want to win for years to come, they definitely need to sign these players now. The Warriors have, if you look at it historically, they've always been making poor moves when it comes to business and management to their players. So it's only rewarding to Klay Thompson to keep him around with that nucleus. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and then Andrew Bogut as well. We'll see how David Lee does if he comes back from injury.
I think Steph Curry is definitely one of the top point guards in the game. Him and Chris Paul definitely are 1 and 2, maybe 1A and 1B. I can't really tell which one is better, but they both seem like they're smart basketball players. Steph Curry definitely has the 3 going on, and they're going to meet again in the playoffs this year, and we'll see who really is the better one.
But Curry's having a career high of 24.8 average points per game. And Kerr is now calling Curry the best defender that the Warriors have had so far this season.
No, definitely. I mean, he's been actually picking up a lot of steals, which is a statistic that you wouldn't have seen maybe a couple years ago. But now he's more active on defense. And think about it, Steph Curry's got some long arms, especially off that pick and roll, top of the three-point line, and he just drops that swoosh. Man, there's no one else better. Personally, Steph Curry's been progressing, and he's only going to get better. He's still so young. So watch out for Steph Curry. He will be the best point guard in this league.
I think there was a lot of high praise by Steve Kerr calling Stephen Curry the best defender on the Warriors. I think he was just trying to put a little bit more confidence into him on the defensive side of the ball. When you look at the numbers, he might be the best offensive point guard in the NBA. But when you look at all-around team play, I still think it's Chris Paul as of right now. He hasn't advanced further into the playoffs, which makes the argument a little bit more closer than what it really is. But I think by the end of the season, if Stephen Curry really picks it up on the defensive end of the ball and it becomes more of a vocal leader that the Warriors need and advances into the playoffs, I think it's without question that Stephen Curry would be the best point guard in the NBA.
Yeah, and Steph Curry's more of a score-first kind of point guard compared to Chris Paul, who likes to pass. So that's how it works.
Okay, next question here. Should Draymond Green remain a starter while David Lee is out? Tell me what you guys think.
Yes.
I think so, definitely. When you look at
definitely.
I think Draymond Green brings a lot of energy to the team that the Warriors lack in other areas. We saw him last season in the playoffs. He's one of the only guys in the NBA that could guard Chris Paul and Blake Griffin at the same time. He is a versatile defender. He can score a lot when he's called upon. He might not be the best three-point shooter. He's trying really hard to become another splash brother himself. But the stats don't lie, Rachel. What's he been doing?
He's averaging 13 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. And honestly, though, energy is a lot of it. He is just so fun to watch, and you can just see him kind of uplifting the team every game that he's in.
Definitely. He does a lot of the dirty things that that coaches really love. And that's meant not to be a joke, Angelo. Thanks, though. But yeah, he does all the gritty things that you need from a glue guy, and he does them all the time. Max effort, is improving on his three-point stroke, fits in with all the scores that the Warriors have on that front line and on that first unit. And when David Lee comes back, which I have an inside source that told me David Lee is a little mad, and he said he's going to come for Draymond's starting spot. When he comes back, Draymond might get pushed to the bench, but I think he should remain in the starting lineup, definitely, because he brings that group together and really picks them up a little bit.
Didn't you see David Lee the other day?
I did. Ran into him. He's with his mama.
Oh yes.
He had to run really fast, but he told me, he's like, I'm coming back, and I'm coming for Draymond. That's from Friendly Fire, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With Draymond Green, it's all about intangibles. That's what he provides. I mean, that three-pointer against Blake Griffin kind of showcased what the season was going to be about. That little rivalry with the Clips and Warriors. So I'm excited to see how Draymond Green responds and progresses through this early NBA season.
It'll be hard to bring $20 million off the bench, but I think that David Lee coming off the bench, nobody else in the NBA could guard him in that position when they're coming off the bench. So I think that'll be another key thing that the Warriors should look at.
Yeah, keep him.
Not a bad problem to have.
Not a bad problem at all.
All right, so since I'm feeling really generous today, I'm going to give you guys one extra question. We're going to call it our overtime question. And predictions for tonight's Warriors game versus the Jazz. Who's winning?
Damn, we're going into overtime? All right. Who's winning tonight? Rachel, what do you think?
I'm saying it's the Warriors. They haven't played since Sunday, which means they're well-rested, gotten that practice in. I expect them just to come out of the gate very strong. Let's see how those turnovers work out today, and if we can get those under control, I'm saying 115-95 Warriors.
Wow.
That's a big score. What do you think, Jacob?
Knock on wood, Steph Curry could literally fall out of a plane tonight, and the Warriors would still beat the Jazz. Warriors all the way.
Well, of course, the Warriors will be at home tonight in Oakland, and you know how the Oracle can be. It can get noisy in there. The Jazz, Gordon Hayward has been playing extremely well, playing up to the contract that he just recently signed. I expect a very competitive game. I'll give it 2 quarters. First 2 quarters will be close. Second half, Steve Kerr is going to do some magic. His lambs are going to switch around. Warriors close it out. I'm going to say 110 to around 99. 11-point win.
I think we're going to see a lot of Kuzmic tonight in garbage time because the Warriors are going to blow it out by the second half. They have Trey Burke and Gordon Hayward on the Jazz. Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, both pretty solid defenders. They're going to take care of it. Jazz have no one else, 120, 101 if they're lucky.
Ooh, high-scoring game. So these are high-scoring
Definitely.
points we're predicting, huh? That's how the Warriors offense.
How the Splash Brothers do it.
That's how they do it.
Gonna get rowdy at Oracle tonight.
Juicy stuff, guys, but it looks like we are out of time for today. I'd like to thank each of our NBA experts for joining me. I'm Jenna Berkman for the Gator Sports Network. Take care. Back to you, Robert.
All right, thank you, Jenna. As always, great analysts from all you guys over there at Four Quarters. Now we got to talk about soccer. What do you guys think? World Cup ended. Any thoughts or anything?
Alexi Lawless once told me.
All right, I think that's enough from
earthquakes
you guys.
Of San Jose.
Oh, you guys are killing me out here. Well, it's a good thing we have our soccer correspondent, Julian, ready to break things down for us with his awesome mustache. Julian, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, crew. Apparently you need someone to save you about soccer, where we're going to talk about the World Cup that ended up last summer with the fantastic winning by the German team. Great team, great expectations by this German team. Great goal by Super Mario Götze. Great chase control and great definition by Götze. The Germans deserve it. They beat every single team in the group. They beat Portugal 4-0, the US 1-0. They beat in the semifinals the host team, which is Brazil 7-1. What a game. And then Argentina in the overtime 1-0. The biggest disappointment in this World Cup will be Spain and Brazil. There were the big expectations on the World Cup. Apparently they just blew it. Spain need a new team. Brazil with the two Neymar and the other defender, they couldn't do much. Argentina with Messi, they had great expectation for Messi, but unfortunately they couldn't make it. Now let's talk about the MLS on the playoffs. We had in the Eastern Conference the New England Revolution versus the New York Red Bulls. This is the weakest game. This is the weakest conference. Apparently the New York Red Bulls are gonna beat it because they had Thierry Henry as a leader. Now let's go with the Western Conference, which is more interesting. We got the Seattle Sounders versus the LA Galaxy. We got Clint Dempsey leading the Seattle Sounders, and they had the advantage to end the game, this series at Seattle. But then let's not forget about LA Galaxy. We had Landon Donovan playing his last season, his last year as a professional soccer player, partnered with Robbie Keane, who played in England and Ireland. So I got big expectations for LA Galaxy. Now let's talk about the European Champions League. For me, there's going to be between these two countries, Spain and Germany. We got Spain with Atletico de Madrid and Real Madrid, who played the final game last year. For most likely, Real Madrid is going to make it to the very end of the final. And then we got the German teams with the Borussia Dortmund and then Bayern Munich, who are undefeated on this season yet, 4-0. Great coach Pep Guardiola leading the Bayern Munich, and Jurgen Klopp leading the Borussia Dortmund. So my expectations are going to be whichever these four teams, it's going to be Germany versus Spain. Thank you very much. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Julian. I'm glad someone around here knows their soccer. We'd also like to thank our three guests, Tim, Charles, and James. You guys did a great job today. All right, we're going to take a 23.5-hour break. We will see you all tomorrow.